Welcome to the Cookston Crafts podcast. I'm Claire and I run Cookston Crafts from my home in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. I create hand-dyed yarn and I also teach craft workshops as well. So the podcast is relatively new. I started at the beginning of the year and it's been a wee while since my last episode. I think that was mid-February and we're now mid-April, so these aren't going to be very frequent. I'm going to fill you all in on what's been going on since the last episode went out, and I've got lots of crafty projects to share with you this afternoon too. I've recorded this so many times now, but I really wanted to come on to say thank you to everybody that's reached out to me this week to check in and see if that I'm okay. I'm absolutely fine. If any of you haven't seen, I posted something on social media at the start of the week just to say that I'm pressing pause on the website, really, on website sales, just for a wee while. It's going to be until about summertime, I think. For a variety of different reasons, I'm going to take a bit of time out to, I guess, reassess what I want Cookston Crafts to be. The last couple of years has meant that I've focused much more on online sales and the website, and it's been brilliant. It's been fantastic. I love to dye yarn, but I have felt a little bit overwhelmed, I guess, with the level of some orders, and also my dyeing space isn't really set up for that level of orders, I guess, that kind of volumes of yarn. So I want to take a bit of time to do up half of my garage space. I've got a fancy new oven, which I'm really excited about, and I've got some catering stainless steel equipment that's going to go in, which should hopefully make the dyeing process a little bit easier going forward. I'm definitely not stopping, it's just that I need to stop for a bit. Basically, if I carry on at the kind of volume that I'm doing, I need to restructure the business, and I really want to avoid doing that. I want to focus on dyeing beautiful yarn and creating a nice, friendly, welcoming space for everyone to come in. So partly, the workshops have been few and far between, and that's partly because by the end of the day I'm absolutely shattered and I can't string a sentence together, let alone teach anybody anything. So hopefully I can take a bit of time to rejig things and prioritise where I want the business to go over the next wee while. That's all it is. I'll still be here behind the scenes. I'll hopefully be recording some more podcasts, and I'll definitely continue to share project ideas on social media and things like that. I want to reassure as well that all of the treat boxes, so it's one of the products that I put together, all of the treat boxes will go out just as planned in May. Anything that I've committed to, I'm sticking to, and I have a full detailed blog post on the website that explains all of the different things like workshop visits, events, treat boxes, the advent, things like that. So you can find out all the information on there. If you've got any queries at all, please just drop me a line. I'm at info@cookstoncrafts.com, and I'm always happy to answer any questions that you might have. So hopefully that clears things up. And we can move right on to some nitty projects. So one of the projects that I finished recently is this Stormy Sky shawl. So this was with one of the treat box yarns from last year. This one was called Winter Rose. I think it was the November box. I'm not 100% sure. And it's a one skein project, which is fantastic. I mean, it's huge. It's a really loose gauge. So I think it was 5.5 millimeters. It's got these little tassels as well. A lovely, nice, light shawl for spring, summer time. So I'm really pleased with that. It is by Xenia at Life is Cozy. And I would highly recommend that you look this up. Great for one skein. We've all got that one skein, don't we, that just has to come home with you and you're not quite sure what it's going to be. So yeah, I've really enjoyed wearing this recently. We were down in Edinburgh. We went to Murrayfield. My son won a competition with his rugby team to meet Hamish Watson, who's one of the Scotland rugby players. And I wore that then at Murrayfield. which was fantastic. We had a great time away. So as well as all of the hectic kind of business things going on, we also had COVID twice in the house. So yeah, things have been a little bit busy. We've needed to just, we've been kept on our toes, shall we say. Since the last episode, I also launched all the Outlander yarns, which I think I showed you all in the last episode. Some of them are here, some of the colourways, and I'm wearing one of them. So this was another project that I've just recently finished. So it's got this lovely lace detail here on the shoulders, and then there's also lace on the bottom edge as well. This one was the Ginga top by Yoko Johnston, and I really love it. I've worn it lots so far. It's quite oversized. I probably could have sized down, but I'm really pleased with it. I used 2 skeins, I think. 2 skeins of this one that was called Heart of the Storm. That is on a different base, but you get an idea for the colourway. The colourway was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. So I tried to run the Outlander range as a pre-order, which has worked really well in the past. It means that everyone gets whatever yarn, whatever base they want, and they get an idea of what the colourway will look like. However, this one in particular, one of the dye formulations had changed, and I knew instantly as soon as I opened the pot, a fresh pot of dye, that it just looked completely different. So let me see if I can find one of the, here it is. So same recipe, using exactly the same brand of dyes, and that was the difference. So I had a bit of a challenge on my hands to kind of adapt to get the more greyish tone that I needed. And I've heard from other dyers as well that this is going to become the norm, that getting consistency in dye batches is getting harder and harder, and it's just a sign of the times, I think, in the world, the state that our world is in at the moment. Grand scheme of things, dye stock isn't really up there, but anyway, I thought I would share that little story with you. So I had a bit of a nightmare with that one, but all the rest went to plan, and they all went out. Must have been at the beginning of March-ish, end of February, beginning of March. I did some mini skein sets, which you all loved, and I will do them again. I think initially I'd said, I'll open it up at the end of April. Obviously that won't be happening, but I will do it again towards the end of the year to make sure that you get all of the Outlander colourways that you like. As well as the Outlander pre-order, I kind of didn't time it very well. It coincided with the March treat box, which was hugely popular. It was Mother's Day in the UK, and it does make a really nice gift for Mother's Day. I've got a little reveal video that I'll share with you, and you can see what the contents of that box was. So this March treat box was inspired by this lovely image of some pansies. I took this photograph last spring, and I thought it might be nice to share some spring colours with you. So there's lots of lilac and purples. I like to give an indication of what the colourway will look like in advance, because if you don't like lilac, this is not the box for you. I know with some surprise subscriptions, you might end up with yarn that you don't particularly like or you're not going to use, and I want to kind of avoid that. So you'll always get an advance image. So let's have a look inside. I'll always include a little thank you letter, and it gives you some of the links to the businesses that I've worked with to put this together. I always try and use small businesses. So let's open up. So first up, we'll speak about the yarn. So I loved putting this colourway together this month. Lots of lilacs and mint green, and there's some yellow through it too. Lots of speckles, highly variegated. You can see the lemon yellow there, and I think it's going to work up into a really nice project. So I hope that I've kind of got the brief. If you look at the inspiration image. And next up, I'll chat about the shortbread because it's the thing that's had the best feedback. Everyone has absolutely adored this. It's from a small local business, Aikens Hill Scullery. And Jen and her sister work together in this business, and it's actually her grandma's recipe. So shortbread is quite a traditional thing in Scotland, and it just melts in the mouth. It's beautiful. So Aikens Hill Scullery, and they have a website and Instagram handle and things like that too. But yeah, beautiful. Next up, to wash down your shortbread, we've got some Copper House hot chocolate. And I just loved the flavours that this business had. So this one is cinnamon rose, and I think there was a raspberry and lavender one as well that they provided. So yeah, just nice cute packaging, and they also have these available online where you can get bigger boxes. I believe you'll get a couple of hot chocolates out of this particular portion. Next, to stick with the flower kind of theme, this is from a business called Mummy and Me. Is it Mummy and Me? Sorry, Mummy and Mr. Fox. Sorry, Mummy and Mr. Fox. And these are wildflower seeds that you can sow between, I believe, March and May, and you should have a beautiful display of wildflowers in your garden by summertime. So I thought that's quite a nice one because you can, look forward to seeing those flowers grow. And then we also had these beautiful products from Lather and Smudge. These are handmade soaps. There were lots of different fragrances. This particular one is geranium, one of my favourites. And there's also a mini shampoo bar as well, and it's lavender and rosemary. So they are based in Scotland, and I hope that you really enjoyed those wee products in this month's treat box. So if you wanted to see how that colourway, the Spring Pansy colourway, knitted up, this is a little Aran ballet top that I made for Ailsa, my daughter. If I turn it round, you'll get an idea of the colours there. So lots of mint green and lilac. There's some little pops of pink as well through that. So this pattern was the girls' ballet cardigan, and it's by Diane Susie. I'll pop a link onto that, but I really liked the pattern in that it went all the way from 18 months up to 10 years. So Ailsa is 8, and I made the age 8 one, and I think it's quite roomy. It's quite a nice size. I did do this was with Aran weight yarn. I normally only have either fingering weight or double knit as options on the treat boxes, just because they're the most popular kind of weights of yarn. But I threw in a couple of skeins of Aran because I had this project in mind, and I knitted that up. So I'm pleased to be able to share that with you, because I tried to keep the treat boxes a surprise and what the contents of them is going to be. So the treat box in May will go out at the end of May. The orders are closed for that, unfortunately. So sorry if you haven't ordered one already. I will be restarting the treat boxes again in September, and I'll let you all know in plenty time about those and about that particular product. Hopefully by then I'll have the fancy new dye space done, and treat box production will be much, much easier and more straightforward. One of the other projects that I worked on, again knitting, they're all knitting so far. I do have a couple of crochet things to share with you, but this sock, now it's a little bit of a strange shape here. You will probably have seen it. It's an old pattern, but it's called the Skew sock. I had printed it off a few years ago, and I remember reading it and thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm making here. I think I cast it on. It's done from the toe up, and I think I struggled with the toe up part of it. I couldn't quite decipher where I was in the pattern, so I gave up. But this time I persisted. So this is yarn from Dye Candy. I bought it a few years ago. And the pink is one of my ones. It's called Pete Tong, from a few years ago. And I've just got a little bit of that left. So I did that as a cuff. I love it. I really, really like it. It's one of those that you need to kind of just trust the pattern, trust the maths. It's a mathematician that designed it very, very well, I would say. Fits lovely, really snug around the heel and the ankle, and just interesting to knit. So apologies if you all knitted Skew socks before, because I think I looked up and it came out in 2009, so I'm a little bit late to the party, But yeah, I really like it, and one of the things that I really liked in particular was this bind off. So because it's done toe up, you don't want your bind off to be too tight, but you also don't want it to kind of flare out as well. So sometimes there's a tendency to do like a stretchy bind off and it kind of flares out and it doesn't stay up. So this one is the Laurie's Twisted Bind Off, and it's a revelation. I've done a little reel over on Instagram just demonstrating that bind off, but you can also find a link to the YouTube video in the description too. So I really like that, and I will use that again, maybe for cuffs as well. I don't like when the cuff kind of flares out a little bit. So I really enjoyed doing that. Solitary sock. It's me all over, but I am going to cast on number 2 really, really soon. I'm working on a test knit at the moment, actually, for a project with Liz Cork, a Scottish pattern designer, and I'm quite excited to reveal all of that. I'll have some kits available for that. That was obviously something that was planned a few months ago, and I am going to continue to dye kits for that, and I will let you all know when they're available. Probably, I think, end of May we're aiming for. So I'm test knitting that at the moment. It's a shawl. It's going to be a two skein shawl. And as I say, I don't want to share any more information just now. I'll share it later. It's been a while since I have done a crochet project, and for whatever reason, I think I saw some summer kind of bags and things probably advertised on Instagram, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make a crochet summer bag. So I've been working on this on and off with a little like 3D flower. We also just recently finished a crochet workshop in here as well, and that kind of inspired me to create something. So I will write up the pattern for this eventually when I finish it, when I sew in all the ends. I remember why I don't do very many granny squares, but I've done some of them, and I just think it's lovely and fresh colours, nice smiley bright colours for summertime. So I'm working away on just a square every now and again in between knitting. I obviously got the bug for crochet because through the Easter holidays we spent a few days here and there just doing day trips with the kids, and one afternoon I decided, right, kids, you can do what you like, you can go on your gadgets, I am going to sit down and I want to watch Bridgerton, which I really loved, really like. Got to say, it's not Downton. Love Downton Abbey. But yeah, I really enjoyed Bridgerton too. And this one afternoon, I thought I will go grab a ball of yarn and I'm going to make Elsa an Easter bunny. And look, he's adorable. It was a really quick, as I say, one afternoon. Really, I think it's a chunky yarn, which does help. And this pattern it's called the Classic Stuffed Bunny by One Dog Woof. It's not the nicest yarn to work with. It was a snuggly snowflake yarn, and you're kind of doing it blind because you can't see your stitches, but Elsa loves him, and he's really soft and squishy. It does mean that any mistakes are hidden because you can't see whether it's a mistake or not because it's so soft and fluffy. But it was really quite satisfying to do something that you could do quite quickly. I think the last wee while I've tended to work on bigger projects and you don't get that instant satisfaction of finishing a thing in an afternoon. So that was good fun. So one other project that I worked on over the Easter break was a sewing pattern. I love to sew and do dressmaking, but I just haven't had the time in the last few years. I love to come out here into this workshop space, and if I come out here, I sometimes feel guilty for sewing, especially if it's for me, which is wrong. I should enjoy it. So I thought, right, I'm going to set aside a day, and I'm going to, well, I set aside a day. It actually took me 3 days to make, but I made the chalk and notch dress pattern. This is the orchid midi dress. I actually bought it last summer, to wear for my 40th birthday, but that kind of came and went and it was still sitting in the packet. So I've done it now and I really like it. So it's got these ruffle sleeves. There is a picture of me wearing it on Instagram. It was a really well written pattern, and because I hadn't sewn for quite a while as well, you know, you forget some bits and bobs, but I really did just take it step by step and worked my way through it. The only thing that I struggled with were the sleeves. They're kind of, so they overlap each other, which is quite effective. But in order to hem this edge, I tried to do a rolled hem, but I just didn't have the patience. I think the best rolled hem that I managed to get, you're obviously doing it 4 times as well. And on the best one that I managed to sew, I had run out of bobbin thread halfway through, so I kind of lost patience with it and I lined them in the end. But I think they are a little bit bulkier than had I just done a rolled hem, because they're lined on both sides. But, you know, needs must, and it's done now. So I'm looking forward to wearing that in the summer. And also it's inspired me to sew a little bit more as well. I think it's a bit addictive, isn't it? As soon as the sewing machine was out, I started looking at fabric. And I really don't need any fabric either, but can't help but look. That was a Lady McElroy fabric, by the way, from Emma's for Make, and they've got some beautiful fabrics out there if you do want to have a look. So I have a few other crafty projects to share with you, and they're not crochet, they're not sewing, they're not knitting. So it was nice to do something different. A few months ago, I got the Pom Pom magazine and I saw these like paper chandeliers. I'll hold up the one that we made. And I would add, it doesn't look anything like the one in the magazine, but Ailsa and I enjoyed working on this over a few evenings. So they are called pająki. I think that is how they're pronounced. But they're a Polish straw chandelier. They're quite traditional in Poland. So these are little paper straws, and we cut out these discs. I did get a special paper cutter to do them, and you decorate with pom-poms. So the designer for them that did the tutorial is someone called Karolina Merska, and her Instagram feed is beautiful. It's so lovely, really colourful, and just really inspiring. We actually, after Ailsa had done that, we got some of her friends over and they all decorated their own one. I'm looking because we've got them hanging up. We put some Easter eggs on. Definitely not traditional, but we just decided that we would hang some little Easter eggs as a bit of an activity with her friends, and really enjoyed doing that. It was nice to do something different. I think these in particular, these ones, we only made 2 because they took quite a while. So you curl up tiny little circles and you curl each individual one, so you can see they're not very even, but you get the idea. The rest of them, and for the kids craft class, I bought these on Amazon. So I cheated and they made them, but they're effective and the girls really enjoyed making them, so that was really fun. Also in the workshop this week, you might be able to see behind me, we had a macrame class, and the lovely Yana from Love and Create is also based in Aberdeenshire. She came and taught a group of us how to make these macrame plant hangers, and that was great fun. It was a lovely, beautiful evening as well, and it kind of reminds me that that's what I enjoy doing. I love having people in and being creative together, getting a group of like-minded people together. So hopefully there will be more workshops in the future. I think Jana is going to come back in May to do another one, to do another macrame workshop. So that will be fab. So the final thing that I have to share with you all is really the events that I'm going to be at. Initially, I thought I was going to have to cancel the next event, which is Yorkshire Yarn Fest in May. So it's on Saturday the 28th of May, an in-person event in York, but I am going to go ahead with it. So I'll have all of my yarn with me, and I really look forward to taking part and seeing people and being away for a weekend as well. It's going to be lovely. If you do want tickets for that, I've popped a link to that in the description box. And also, I still have some free tickets available as well. So if you're quick, if you message me, I will send you a link for a free ticket for that. So you can check that out. I'm also really excited to be able to tell you that I have a few other future events. So some of these yarn festivals we have to apply for quite a while in advance, because the organisers obviously have a lot of organisation behind the scenes. So I'd applied for Yarndale, which takes place at the end of September, and I'm pleased to tell you that I will be there. So the dates of that I will add here, because I can't remember off the top of my head. And then I've also got the Glasgow School of Yarn in October. Now, this one, in Scotland, we don't have a huge amount of yarn festivals. So it is really special to not have to travel so far. And also, the knitting community is quite small. You obviously recognise a lot of faces, so it's lovely to be at a Scottish event where you get the chance to actually chat and properly catch up and see people in real life. You know, sometimes you've maybe only seen them on Instagram, and then you get to realise that they're a real person. So I'm looking forward to that at the end of October. And as well as that, there is another event in August. I haven't really done these in order, have I? In August, we'll have Wool at Portsoy. Now, I can't remember if I've mentioned Wool at Portsoy before. It's a little bit further north than where I am in Aberdeenshire, and it was the first ever yarn festival that I did. It's a lovely event run by the Portsoy Bothy knitters. So they all volunteer and organise this lovely event, and the word I would use for it is coothie. And that in Doric, our dialect round about here, just means like comforting, welcoming. They're just a lovely group that I look forward to seeing every year. And I think they've got about 40 vendors, I think, this year. It's over 2 different locations, but Portsoy is also a really beautiful seaside town as well, with some great ice cream. So if you're local and you fancy a trip, Portsoy, 29th of August, I think, but I'm going to add all of the confirmed information in the description box so that you can make a decision on what events that you might want to come along to. So I am hoping that it won't be so long until my next podcast, and I'll probably have the Liz Cork sample probably to show you actually the next time. If not, I might actually see if Liz will do a little chat with me and we can speak about the inspiration behind the design and share that pattern launch with you all. And I will be prepping for the Yorkshire Yarn Fest at the end of May. So I'll probably have some new colourways to show you and maybe some news on when I'm going to launch the advent calendars as well. So I'm definitely still doing an advent, but I can't launch it until at least summertime. So hopefully I might have a date in mind for then. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. It's nice I feel like a weight has been lifted a little bit, that I'm able to kind of take a bit of a breather. I wasn't sure whether this was going to be the right decision to make, but I definitely feel more confident in that now. I'm glad that I've shared it all with you and you've been lovely and supportive. So can't thank you enough, really. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.